Sometimes a horror film feels a little too real, like the screen is only a thin curtain hiding something waiting on the other side. Tonight, we're diving into top 10 classic horror movies that felt shockingly real. A list that blurs the line between fiction and reality so well you might catch yourself glancing over your shoulder. Have you ever watched a movie that stayed with you long after the credits rolled? Tell me which one. And if you love chilling stories like these, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. 1. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. A documentary film crew disappears in the Amazon, and the footage recovered is so disturbingly realistic that many believed it was real. Stepping into our first pick feels less like watching a movie and more like trespassing into something forbidden, something you weren't meant to see. Cannibal Holocaust doesn't just push boundaries, it erases them, leaving you unsure where performance ends and genuine suffering begins. And here's the hook. Once you start, you can't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, the horrors unfolding weren't staged at all. What makes this film so unsettling isn't the gore, though there's plenty of that. It's the eerie stillness between each chaotic moment, the way the jungle seems to breathe on its own, like a living witness refusing to give away its secrets. There's a sense of rawness here, a primal energy that crawls under your skin. As you watch, you start wondering, if this were real, would it look any different? And that's where the unease tightens its grip. The shaky camera, the frantic shouts, the way characters stumble and argue, none of it feels scripted. Instead, it feels captured, stolen, like someone took a camera where it should never have gone. And you're now watching the consequences. Did the filmmakers go too far? Or is that uncomfortable blur between truth and fiction exactly what gives the film its infamous, enduring power? I'm curious. What do you think makes a horror movie feel real? Is it the violence, the atmosphere, the performances, or something deeper, something instinctual? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what unsettles you the most. And if you're brave enough to keep diving into films that mess with your sense of reality, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We have even more unnervingly realistic classics coming up. Speaking of blurring truth and fiction, our next entry takes that idea in a completely different direction, one that hides its terror behind the guise of early found footage. Let's move on to The Last Broadcast, 1998. 2. The Last Broadcast, 1998. A small TV crew enters the Pine Barrens chasing the mythic Jersey Devil, only one returns alive. But what if the real terror hides behind the camera? Continuing from the unsettling brutality of Cannibal Holocaust, The Last Broadcast shifts the fear from the jungle to the digital shadows, where truth, lies, and paranoia blur into something far more personal. This film doesn't scream at you, it whispers, quietly tightening its grip until you realize you've stopped blinking. And that's exactly where our story begins. The documentary-style narrative follows a group of amateur broadcasters hosting a show called Fact or Fiction. Desperate for higher ratings, they choose a notoriously dangerous topic, a live expedition to hunt the Jersey Devil. It's a decision that feels reckless from the start, like watching someone play with a locked door you know shouldn't be opened. And here's where the hook digs in, when the police later find the crew brutally murdered. The only survivor, the sound technician, becomes the prime suspect. But is he a killer, or another victim of something much darker? As you listen to the reconstructed footage unravel, you start asking yourself, how much of what we see, hear, or record, is ever truly real? The deeper the film dives, the more it pulls you into its investigation. You're no longer just a viewer, you're a participant, matching clues, questioning motives, analyzing each frame like a detective obsessed. Have you ever watched something and felt as if the footage was watching you back? This film thrives on that uneasy sensation. It plays with silence, glitches, distortions, and the raw imperfections of low-budget digital video to create an atmosphere that's more intimate and more dangerous than polished horror ever could be. And here's the fun part to think about. If you were in their place, would you chase a mystery for fame? Would you risk stepping into the woods knowing every tree could be hiding an answer you don't want? Tell me in the comments, would you go on that expedition? Or would you run the other way? If you're enjoying this countdown so far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these deep dive horror stories coming. And trust me, What's coming next will make you question reality even more. Because after exploring the blurred truths of the last broadcast, we move to something even stranger, a broadcast that terrified an entire nation in real time. Let's continue with Ghostwatch, 1992. 3. Ghostwatch, 1992. A live TV broadcast investigating a haunted London house spirals into chaos, leaving viewers convinced they were witnessing real paranormal events. Picking up where the last broadcast left off, Ghostwatch takes the idea of realism and turns it into a weapon. Weaponized for terror, unlike a conventional horror film, it masquerades as a live investigation, blurring lines between television and reality so effectively that millions of viewers believed it wasn't fiction. Imagine watching a show where the anchors panic, the cameras shake, and the house itself seems alive. Would you feel safe sitting on your couch? That uncertainty is the film's genius hook, pulling you deeper into its chilling atmosphere with every passing minute. The story revolves around a crew investigating a supposedly haunted residence where children have reported supernatural phenomena. The tension is relentless because it never steps back from the illusion of immediacy. As you watch, your mind begins to fill the gaps, your imagination doing the work the camera leaves unsaid. It's that quiet terror, moments between shouts, shadows flickering in peripheral vision, that lingers long after the screen goes black. This is the kind of horror that doesn't just entertain, it infects, burrowing into your sense of what's real. What's truly haunting is the film's subtle manipulation of trust. Anchors you'd normally see as guides into the story become conduits of panic. And the audience in 1992 reportedly called police, desperate for help. Have you ever felt that line blur between fiction and reality while watching a film? Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear what film or show has ever genuinely unsettled you. If you're captivated by this blend of realism and fear, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It ensures you won't miss the next entries on this countdown, each designed to test the limits of your belief in what is real. And speaking of blurred reality, our next selection, the McPherson Tape, 1989, takes the concept of found footage to a new extreme. You'll want to stay tuned because this one might just make you question every family video you've ever seen. 4. The McPherson Tape, 1989. A family's home video capturing an alien abduction becomes a terrifyingly real record of events no one can explain. Following the televised terror of Ghostwatch, the McPherson Tape brings horror closer to home, literally. Here, the threat isn't in a distant jungle or a haunted TV set, it's inside a family's living room. Invading the familiar and turning the ordinary into something unrecognizable. You watch and feel that creeping unease. What if something so inexplicable could happen in your home? That's the hook. Once the first distorted shadow appears on the grainy VHS, you're hooked, heart racing, eyes scanning every corner of your own room. The film's brilliance lies in its raw immediacy, shot in a home video style. The shaky camera, panicked voices, and abrupt movements make it feel like the events are unfolding in real time. There's no musical score to warn you, no cuts to give you breathing room, only the sounds of screams, shouted instructions, and objects crashing. It's intimate and invasive, blurring the boundary between fiction and the terrifying possibility that it could happen to anyone. And that's the subtle psychological terror this film delivers. The fear that the most familiar spaces aren't safe. Have you ever seen a film where the style itself, the shaky handheld, the amateur filming, makes the fear tangible? That's what the McPherson Tape accomplishes brilliantly. It doesn't just rely on monsters or gore, it's the authenticity, the realism, that creeps under your skin and refuses to leave. You find yourself questioning what's staged and what might feel disturbingly real. What would you do if this happened in your home? Would you grab the camera, hide, or run? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious how you'd react in such an unimaginable situation. And if you're captivated by films that manipulate perspective to make you believe the unbelievable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the next entries on our list continue to challenge what you accept as reality. Next, we journey from home video horror to a vision of societal collapse, where the horror is both terrifyingly possible and disturbingly ordinary. Let's dive into Threads, 1984. 5. Threads, 1984. A nuclear attack devastates Sheffield, England, showing the horrifying aftermath of war and its terrifyingly real consequences. Shifting from the intimate terror of the McPherson Tape, Threads expands the scope of fear from a single household to an entire society. This isn't just about scares lurking in shadows, it's about a reality so plausible, so meticulously documented, that it leaves you breathless. The film opens with ordinary life, slowly unraveling as tensions escalate into nuclear catastrophe. The hook grabs you immediately. You know the destruction is coming. Yet the human stories, families trying to survive, communities collapsing, make every second unbearable. You watch not just a film, but a possible future, and it forces a question you can't ignore. How fragile is the world we take for granted? Threads employs a documentary-style realism that feels invasive, almost voyeuristic. The camera doesn't merely observe, it immerses you in panic, in confusion, in the raw, unfiltered chaos of a society on the brink. Unlike typical disaster films, this one doesn't sugarcoat suffering. You see hunger, disease, and despair in unflinching detail. By the time the bombs fall, the horror isn't just in the fireballs or the ruins, it's in the way the survivors' lives, the very fabric of society, disintegrate. Have you ever felt a film's weight settle on you, pressing down like a tangible presence? That's what Threads does. As you watch, you may find yourself reflecting on the fragility of your own routines, the way communities rely on order, and how easily everything can slip away. Would you have the resilience to survive? Or would panic take over? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious how you imagine life in such unimaginable circumstances. And here's a connection that might intrigue you. While Threads focuses on societal collapse, the fear is just as intimate as in the McPherson Tape or Ghostwatch. It's the closeness to reality that terrifies, making you question what's happening outside your window, in your town, or even in your mind. If you're drawn to horror that feels uncomfortably real, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because our next film continues the theme of chilling realism in a way that blends legend and fact. Up next is The War Game, 1966. 6. The War Game, 1966. A chilling simulation of a nuclear strike exposes the terrifyingly real consequences of global conflict. Picking up from the harrowing societal collapse depicted in Threads, The War Game takes realism to another level, confronting us with the sheer devastation of nuclear warfare. Unlike traditional dramatizations, this film doesn't rely on melodrama. It's presented as a stark, pseudo-documentary simulation, designed to make you feel the weight of its events in an almost unbearable way. The hook is immediate. The opening scenes may feel familiar, almost mundane, yet you sense an impending catastrophe. That tension lingers, keeping you glued to the screen, questioning how quickly the world you know could vanish. What makes The War Game unforgettable is its unflinching honesty. The film doesn't shy away from the human cost, the panic, the injuries, the breakdown of infrastructure, and the despair of communities facing annihilation. You feel the fear not as an abstract idea but as something tactile, as if you're standing amidst the ruins yourself. The cinematography, the sound design, the abrupt shifts between calm and chaos, all work together to immerse you completely. It's terrifying precisely because it feels possible, plausible, and disturbingly close to reality. Have you ever watched a film that left you haunted for days, questioning the fragility of your own safety? That's the experience The War Game delivers. It forces you to reflect on humanity's vulnerability, on political decisions that could have irreversible consequences. Could you imagine living through such a scenario? How would you react if your city were suddenly changed forever? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your perspective on facing an unimaginable disaster. And while this film focuses on societal collapse on a massive scale, it connects back to the intimacy of fear explored in films like The McPherson Tape and Ghostwatch. Both explore realism, but The War Game magnifies it to a terrifying national, and even global, level. This escalation of scale reminds us that horror isn't always monsters or ghosts. Sometimes it's the plausibility of reality itself. If you're captivated by films that blend realism with psychological tension, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, We shift from the global scale of nuclear threat to a haunting tale rooted in legend and the eerie unknown with The Legend of Boggy Creek, 1972. 7. The Legend of Boggy Creek, 1972. A small town in Arkansas reports sightings of a mysterious Bigfoot-like creature. Blurring the line between legend and reality, could it be real? Following the harrowing global destruction in the war game, we return to a more intimate but equally unsettling fear, the unknown lurking in the familiar. The Legend of Boggy Creek doesn't terrify with bombs or societal collapse. It creeps into your mind with the possibility that something extraordinary and dangerous exists just beyond sight. From the first sighting, the film seduces you with realism, interviews with locals, atmospheric shots of the misty wilderness, and the slow reveal of a creature whose existence feels plausible. The hook grabs you immediately. How would you react if something inexplicable wandered near your home at night? The genius of this film lies in its documentary-style approach. Unlike monster movies that show every detail of the creature, Boggy Creek lets your imagination do the work. The tension grows with every shadow, every rustle in the trees, making the ordinary environment feel menacing. You start questioning what's real, what's folklore, and where the boundary between the two lies. Have you ever experienced that kind of suspense, where your heart races simply from the possibility that the unseen might be true? It's a rare and chilling sensation, and this movie delivers it masterfully. Another fascinating aspect is how it connects to the previous films on this list. Like Threads and The War Game, it uses realism to heighten horror, but here, the scope is local, intimate, and personal. Instead of societal collapse, the threat is mysterious and elusive, yet just as psychologically impactful. You begin to wonder about your own backyard, your own woods, and whether myths hold more truth than we'd like to admit. Do you believe creatures like this could exist in remote areas? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to see if you're a skeptic or a believer. If you're intrigued by horror that walks the fine line between legend and reality, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we explore a terrifyingly plausible encounter with extraterrestrials in Fire in the Sky, 1993, where reality is stranger and scarier than fiction. 8. Fire in the Sky, 1993. A man is abducted by extraterrestrials, leaving his friends and family questioning what really happened. Could this terrifying ordeal be true? Transitioning from the eerie forests of The Legend of Boggy Creek, we now look skyward, to the unknown that might be closer than we dare imagine. Fire in the Sky immerses us in the life of Travis Walton, whose sudden disappearance in the Arizona wilderness shook his small town and inspired one of the most chilling accounts of alien abduction ever recorded. The opening scenes ground us in everyday reality, a group of loggers, laughter, camaraderie, and then, in a blink, everything changes. The hook hits hard. How would you react if someone vanished before your eyes, leaving only a circle of scorched earth and disbelief behind? The brilliance of this film lies in its meticulous attention to realism. Director Robert Lieberman combines reenactments with interviews and atmospheric cinematography to blur the line between fact and fiction. You feel Travis's terror as you watch the eerie glow descend from the sky, and the subsequent encounters inside the alien craft feel disturbingly tangible. What makes Fire in the Sky unforgettable is not just the alien imagery, but the emotional gravity, the fear, confusion, and skepticism of his friends, echoing what we ourselves might feel in such an unimaginable situation. Here's where it connects to previous entries. Just as Boggy Creek made the wilderness feel menacingly real, this story makes the skies above us a source of potential terror. Both films exploit the fear of the unknown, one terrestrial, one extraterrestrial, but the tension is identical. Could the unbelievable actually be happening right next door? The suspense lingers long after the screen goes dark, inviting reflection and debate. Do you think Travis Walton's experience could have truly happened, or is it a carefully constructed tale? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to hear if you lean toward belief or doubt. If the thought of reality-bending horror enthralls you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next on our journey is a haunting exploration of grief and family secrets in Lake Mungo, 2008. A film so realistic it might make you question what's lurking behind the familiar walls of your own home. 9. Lake Mungo, 2008. A family grieves their daughter's tragic death, only to uncover eerie footage that suggests she may still be reaching out. How far would you go to find the truth? Following the shocking alien encounter in Fire in the Sky, we return to something far closer to home: family, grief, and the unsettling possibility that loss doesn't end with death. Lake Mungo masterfully blends documentary-style storytelling with supernatural tension, drawing viewers into the harrowing aftermath of Alice Palmer's drowning. The film's genius lies in its restraint. There are no over-the-top scares, no glaring special effects, just the quiet, creeping dread of the unknown. You watch the family navigate their sorrow, and as the strange images and ghostly footage surface, the line between mourning and mystery blurs. You might catch yourself glancing over your shoulder, wondering if unseen presences lurk around familiar corners. What makes this story resonate is its realism. The cameras, interviews, and found footage create the sensation that you're uncovering the mystery alongside the family. Each revelation, photographs showing anomalies, video snippets hinting at something beyond, feels intimate and terrifyingly possible. By placing the supernatural within a relatable domestic sphere, the film forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How well do we really know those we love? Could the dead truly leave a message for the living? Lake Mungo connects naturally to the tension in Fire in the Sky. Both films explore human encounters with forces beyond understanding. Yet while one looked outward to the cosmos, this story looks inward, exploring grief, memory, and the echoes of the departed. There's a subtle, psychological terror here that lingers, one that makes you wonder if your own family photos or home videos might conceal secrets you're not ready to see. Now, I want to hear from you. If you discovered footage of a loved one seemingly reaching out from beyond, would you investigate, or turn away in fear? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious about your reactions. If this exploration of intimate, chilling horror captivates you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next we'll delve into the notorious Amityville Horror, 1979, a story so infamous that it's become a benchmark for real-life haunting tales that continue to terrify audiences worldwide. 10. The Amityville Horror, 1979. A family moves into a seemingly idyllic home, only to face terrifying paranormal forces that challenge their sanity. Would you dare live here? After the eerie, intimate hauntings of Lake Mungo, we arrive at a story that practically defined the modern haunted house genre, the Amityville Horror. This film captures the unsettling idea that evil can reside not in distant lands or extraterrestrial encounters, but right in the place you call home. The Lutz family's experience in that infamous Long Island house has haunted audiences for decades, partly because of the alleged, true story behind it, lending a chilling authenticity that keeps viewers on edge. From the moment the family enters the house, a sense of dread creeps in. The camera follows subtle, unnerving movements, doors slamming on their own, mysterious shadows, and objects that behave inexplicably. Unlike the overt shocks of alien abduction in Fire in the Sky or the found footage eeriness of Lake Mungo, this film's terror is psychological. The fear comes from isolation, vulnerability, and the uncertainty of what's real versus what the mind might conjure under stress. As the Lutz family experiences sleep paralysis, violent apparitions, and demonic presences, you can't help but question, what would you do if your own home betrayed you in such a way? The genius of Amityville lies in its connection to reality. Audiences are drawn in not only by the cinematic tension but by the possibility that these events really happened, which amplifies the fear. By showing the gradual unraveling of the family's mental and emotional state, the film lets viewers empathize with their terror, making every shadow and unexplained noise feel personal. The story bridges supernatural horror and human fragility in a way that leaves lingering unease long after the credits roll. Now I want to ask you, if you knew your house harbored an evil presence, would you stay and confront it, or flee immediately? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's see how brave our viewers really are. If you enjoyed uncovering these shocking, real horrors from Cannibal Holocaust to Amityville Horror, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into spine-chilling stories that blur the line between fiction and reality. Your next horror obsession might be just a click away. And there you have it, The chilling journey through 10 classic horror films that felt so real. They made our skin crawl and our hearts race. From the raw shock of Cannibal Holocaust to the haunted walls of the Amityville Horror. Each story left its mark, reminding us that sometimes the scariest tales are the ones that could happen next door. Which of these films haunted you the most? And would you dare watch them alone at night? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling discoveries that blur the line between fiction and reality.